Welcome to the FMC Motorsport Workshop, located here in the Marumbi neighborhood, more precisely in Villa Sonia. And today we're going to talk about one of the problems my car had this week, and that was fixed here with Rafa. I'm going to introduce you to Rafa, the owner of the workshop. He can service the entire 888 Generation 3 line and all other car models and brands as well. And the big problem was with the heat exchangers. So he's going to explain to you the first part of the problem, how to identify it, how to solve it, and how to prevent it from happening. So, let's go step by step. Okay, guys, the next symptom that the nobleman's car had was oil in the coolant, right? It ended up contaminating the reservoir, so we opened the lid and saw that milky appearance mixed with oil. In the case of his car, the heat exchanger that ended up getting punctured was the one in the transmission. But then we ended up replacing both heat exchangers because since the car uses coolant for the entire system, there is a high chance that the wear that occurred in this heat exchanger will also occur in the engine heat exchanger. So, as a preventive measure, we stopped to solve the problem completely. We ended up replacing the transmission and engine heat exchangers. He even said that there was a possibility of replacing only one, but I, as a picky car owner, in my opinion, it's like that story. Sometimes we want to save money at the beginning and end up having to spend money and be left without a car again. So, in your opinion, what is it? Since the water that will be used and will pass through this one here, it also shares with this one, so it will pass through both. So if one is damaged due to the water is already very contaminated and has rusted, the other will most likely break down soon after. So, when in doubt, we can use the labor to replace both of them. You will be without a car for less time and it is more worthwhile. But if you want and don't want to spend more, you can change just one, but knowing that the other one may have problems very soon, or that it may last for many years, there's no guarantee. But when in doubt, since we know that water is shared between the two, the chance of the other one being bad is also very high. So, in my case, I chose to change both, okay? And another thing that's also important, that a lot of people have always heard, oh, you mixed water in the oil in the water, damn, the engine broke, everything's gone, I'm going to have to spend a lot. Not always in these cars here, because they have oil changers. When the oil gets mixed with water, most of the time it's the oil changer. It's not that expensive a problem, it's not an engine problem, and you have to go to repair shops, where the repair shop knows how to deal with these cars, knows these cars so they can make the best diagnosis and also provide the best service for you. And here at FMC, they only use original brands or referenced brands for most of their products, which is very important. So much so that they work with several models and brands, but they recommended that I use the coolant that you recommend here, which is G12 Evo, which is the one specified by the manufacturer. It meets all the standards that the car needs. It's what is applied at the dealership. It's what comes from the factory in the car, right? It's a coolant that has extreme quality and is low cost. So, it's worth investing in an original coolant to ensure the durability of all the other components of the cooling system of the A3, Golf and all other cars. So much so that because it's a good cost benefit, sometimes you say, I'll save some money and not get the original Volvo. And then you want to save money. Sometimes you'll save $20, $30. But is it worth saving $20, $30 when you have to replace a part that sometimes costs $500, $600, $700, $1,000? Oftentimes not. And even one of the things that you have to do when this problem with the heat exchangers occurs is to clean the entire system, right, Rafa? Exactly. The oil, whether transmission or engine, ends up coming into contact with the coolant, and it ends up contaminating everything, all the hoses, water pump, connections. So what do? We use products to make cleaning the coolant easier. In this case of the nobleman's car, we used Convertec from Kobe, but there are other brands that have similar products that work well too. So it depends on the car owner's preference. They help to clean the cooling system, and after just 2 washes we had a 100% result, completely decontaminating the cooling system. We did both cleanings with demineralized water and Convertec, and then in the last rinse we applied the original A3 coolant. And also one of the things that is not a rule, but can happen. And in my case what happened is that when the oil comes into contact with water, what is the big problem? It starts to deteriorate plastic and rubber parts. In the case of my car, it was very short time, it was obviously contaminated, but Convertec managed to remove almost 100% or 100% of the oil. But the big problem is the hoses. So far, they have not had any problems due to contact with the oil. I believe they are more resistant, but the cap ended up getting damaged, because the plastic is not made to be in direct contact with the oil, at least not the plastic of the coolant cap. And there was another pin there, right, in this case, another, how could I say, a flange, a cooling flange, which goes right next to the turbine, and it ended up with skin due to this contact. It was contaminated and ended up falling apart, so I had to change the cap. I decided to change the cap and the reservoir. In this case, just the cap would solve the problem, but I wanted to change everything to be safe. I'm of the opinion that whenever you do maintenance, you should do everything possible to avoid having a problem again rather than save money and have a problem in the future. And I also changed this flange that Rafa recommended. We didn't even know when the flange arrived. The cool thing is that the original one is made of plastic and this one that arrived would be an upgrade, in terms of terms, because it's already made of metal. So this problem won't happen again because it's made of metal. It can withstand more temperature, more pressure, among many other things. And finally, how can we prevent this problem from happening in the car? The best way to prevent this type of problem is to change the coolant. We recommend that you do a checkup and change the coolant every 12 months, so every year. This will greatly reduce the chance of internal oxidation of the heat exchangers and of them causing holes and mixing with the oil in the coolant. Also, remember that if you always change the coolant every year, your car will always be running at the correct water temperature. Your engine will always be running at a low temperature because the coolant is already very worn or contaminated. Also, remember that in addition to helping these two more expensive parts not to have problems, you will also help the water pump to work more smoothly, avoiding water pump problems, among many other things. So, if you need maintenance and you are in Sao Paulo or here in the Morumbi region, look for us here at FMC. I'll leave the contact details for you here at the workshop below so you can get in touch and schedule your appointment, whether for diagnostics or service, or FMC also does the preparation here. So, if you need to assemble a stage 2, stage 3, stage 1, stage 4. Call Rafa here, he'll be able to assist you, he'll be able to answer any questions, both for those who want to assemble the stages, and also for those who need maintenance on their cars. Perfect, guys? So, if you need service, come here to FMC, call Rafa and he'll be able to assist you in the best possible way, okay? Thanks, Rafa, thanks.